With 14 horses entering the starting gate, who are you going to choose as the winner of the Lecomte Stakes? The Kentucky Derby point season, it's heating up. Remember, for a horse to get into the Kentucky Derby, they have to earn those coveted Kentucky Derby points. And this weekend, the stakes are increased. We're going from 10 points to the winner to 20 points to the winner. We're talking the Lecomte Stakes, a 1.16 miles on the dirt at the Fairgrounds in New Orleans. And this race has produced some very well-known horses, like War Emblem, who went on to win the Kentucky Derby, Oxbow, Golden Soul, Heartspun, who has a horse in this race, the Morning Line favorite, and Mandaloon. This year, the race has attracted 14 horses. Yes, I said it. 14 horses, a very full field. And for you to find your winner, facts and figures, they're going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra. And we're going to go through all 14 horses. But some of you may not want to hear about all 14. That's okay. I've created chapters below, so just scroll to the horse you're most interested in. Along the way, I'm going to point out the horses I personally like and find intriguing, but make sure you do your own research. Let's start off with the number 1 horse, Innovator. The number 1 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Innovator, and he's trained by Hall of Famer D Wayne Lukas and will be ridden by Jaime Torres. Now he seems more like a bridesmaid and less like a bride, with 7 starts, 1 win, and 4 places. But before we toss him out, let's look at who he's ran against. He came in second behind the number 8 horse in this race, Tough Catch. He then went on to actually go ahead of Aviator Guy, and Aviator Guy came in second in the G2 Remsen. He entered into the G1 Hopeful, unfortunately bumped really badly at the gate, comes in 5th behind Chance of McPatrick and Ferocious. He ran second to Barnes. Barnes ran a huge race, winning the G2 San Vicente. And he came in second behind Kale's Angel, who recently finished 3rd in the Smarty Jones. Now that is an impressive group of horses. Yes, it took him 7 tries to break his maiden meaning first time win. But he popped out of that gate and went gate to wire on a muddy track at Oaklawn. Now, he's in the number 1 post. He has a lot of early speed, so I don't think he's going to get pinned in at the gate. He also has a very sharp workout, 59 and change, recently. He's got D Wayne Lukas in his corner. And yes, he is trying this distance and 2 turns for the very first time, but he is a $900,000 purchase by Authentic, and Authentic went on to win the Kentucky Derby. He's going to be a very intriguing horse with the price that we're going to get. The number 2 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Maximum Promise. He has our Kentucky Derby winning team of Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr., and he's by Maximum Security. Maximum Promise, he's had 2 starts with 1 win. Second time out in a mile race, 3-5 favorite at Ellis Park. He won by over 14 lengths. That's a super impressive win. However, when we look at who he beat, the horses didn't really improve their speed, and those that didn't reach the speed that he actually earned on that day. Now, we haven't seen him for 168 days. He's had a break in training from August to the end of November. Now, since November, he's had some really good workouts, but I just wonder, even though I love this team, is he going to need a race underneath of him? The number 3 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Admiral Dennis, trained by Brad Cox and will be ridden by Joel Rosario. He's by Constitution. Now, I had read he may scratch in this race, but just in case, here are his stats. 3 starts, 1 win, and 1 show. The last time we saw him was here at the Fairgrounds for the Gunrunner. He was the 4-5 favorite in that race, and rightfully so. He was just coming off a win at the mile at Churchill Downs, a very impressive win. Unfortunately, he stumbled at the start. Really bad stumble, was way far behind, finishes 4th behind Built in Magnitude, and both those horses are in this race. Now, given he has an excuse, I think he has a fair shot in this race. Also, he's got Brad Cox, who has a 31% win rate for 3-year-olds at the Fairgrounds. And he's owned by Alba Family Stables, and they know how to get horses to the Derby. They had Catching Freedom last year. The number 4 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Magnitude, trained by Steve Asmussen and ridden by Jose Ortiz. And together, they have a whopping 38% win rate. Now, Steve Asmussen, he's won this race twice in the last 5 years, including last year's winner, Track Phantom. Magnitude is by Not This Time, and Not This Time has very good stats as a sire of 3-year-olds. So there are things that I really like about this horse. I like his trainer, I like his sire, I like the fact that he has run this distance twice. That's really important when you're looking at 3-year-olds running the longer distances. He has a win and a place at this distance. The win came at Churchill Downs. He was very close to the pace that day, dug in, got the win. The last time we saw him, this distance, this track, was in the Gunrunner. Now here's what I don't like about Magnitude. He not only finished second to Built, and Built is in this race, he finished 6 lengths behind Built. Now, Built's got a challenge in this race. He's coming from post 13. He's going to have to run farther and faster at the start. Can Magnitude get the jump on Built this time? The number 5 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Optical, trained by Keith Desormeaux and ridden by James Graham. He's by City of Light. Now, Optical has shown flashes of talent, and every time he enters the starting gate, I seem to be high on him. 7 starts with 2 wins and 1 show. Both those wins have been at the mile distance. The first one was at Churchill Downs. He had James Graham aboard. Gate to wire win by 14 lengths. He then went into the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. Again, I was very optimistic about Optical. Unfortunately, he didn't finish the race. The last time we saw him was also at Churchill Downs, $72,000 allowance starter race, where he got to the lead and won by a head. Now, he was supposed to be in the Smarty Jones a couple weeks ago, and again, I sang his praises. Unfortunately, he scratched. I think I'm going to be singing his praises in this race too, because I have seen those flashes of talent. And a couple of other things I want to point out. He has a super fast workout at 5 furlongs going 59 and change. And his trainer, Keith Desormeaux, can be very sneaky in this race. In 2022, with James Graham aboard, he won with a 30-1 long shot, Call Me Midnight. The number 6 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Golden Afternoon, trained by Nick Vaccarezza and ridden by Axel Concepcion. Now, this horse always hits the board. 3 starts, 2 wins, 1 place. However, all 3 starts have been on the turf. Golden Afternoon competed at this distance in the G2 Castle and Key Bourbon Stakes at Keeneland and came in second. He then goes to the Fairgrounds in a mile race and wins by a half a length. Now, you may want to toss this horse because of his turf background, but he's by Golden Sense, and Golden Sense was the sire of last year's Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan, also the sire of By My Standards, who was entered into the Derby. Golden Afternoon's trainer, Nick Vaccarezza, he just took over for his father, Carlo. So how great would it be for him to get the win? The number 7 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Calling Card, trained by Mike Maker and ridden by Frankie Dettori. He has 4 starts, 1 win, 1 place, and 1 show. 2 of the starts on the dirt, 2 of the starts on the turf. What does he have going for him? Really good closing speed, a place finish at this distance, although it was on turf, and a win in a mile race at Aqueduct by a whopping 17 lengths. And that win produced some of the best speeds we see out of all the horses in this race. What he's lacking is class. In his last race, an allowance race at Oaklawn, he finished 3rd and was no match for the winner Sandman that day. The number 8 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Tough Catch, trained by Dallas Stewart and ridden by Luis Saez. Tough Catch has 5 starts with 2 wins, 2 places. One of his wins came in his very first race, 5.5 furlong maiden race at Saratoga, where he actually won against the number 1 horse in this race, Innovator. He then went into the G1 Hopeful. He competed against the likes of Chancer McPatrick and Ferocious, but came in 8th. His next 2 races were at the 6 and 6.5 furlongs, and in both of those races, he came in 2nd. The last time we saw him was here at the Fairgrounds in the Sugar Bowl Stakes, went right to the lead and won. Now, I get that Dallas Stewart, he's really one of my favorite trainers. He tends to surprise us with long shots, but I'm afraid about this distance and tough catch. He only has the win at the shorter distances, and he's by complexity, and complexity tends to produce more sprinter winners than routes. Will this be a tough distance for tough catch? The number 9 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Dapper Moon, also trained by Dallas Stewart and ridden by Edgar Morales. 6 starts with 2 wins and 1 place. What I like about this horse is his class, and that's the level of horses he's been competing against. In October at Keeneland, he was in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, where he competed against East Avenue and Ferocious. Unfortunately, he faded and came in 4th. Then he goes to the G3 Street Sense, where he competes against Sovereignty and Tistastic. Again fades, comes in 4th. Then he goes into the Kentucky Jockey Club in November and competes against First Resort and Jonathan's Way. Fades and comes in 4th. If you're seeing a pattern, when he's in these very classy races and they're at this distance, he really hasn't been able to get the distance. The last time we saw him was here at the Fairgrounds in an allowance race going 6 furlongs, 1-5 favorite, and he won by a head. Now, I like the fact he has Dallas Stewart as a trainer. I like the class he has. I like that he has run at this distance. I'm just not sure we're going to get the improvement that he needs in order to get the win. The number 10 horse is MoBetterthanGood, trained by Kenny McPeak and ridden by Colby Hernandez. Now, this horse has had 1 start, 1 win, and that win came 138 days ago, a 7 furlong, $90,000 maiden race at Saratoga. But what I really liked about that race was how professional he was. He was very patient on the track, and at the end, took the lead, got the win. It's a hard sell. We haven't seen him in 138 days. He just began his workouts again at the end of November, but he's put in some super fast workouts, and he's got Kenny McPeak as a trainer. Is he MoBetterthanGood? The number 11 horse in the Lecomte is Disco Time, and Disco Time is trained by Brad Cox and will be ridden by Florent Giroux. Together, they have a 28% win rate. Disco Time is by Not This Time, and Not This Time has very impressive stats as a sire of 3-year-olds. 2 starts, 2 wins. He begins at Churchill Downs in a 7 furlong race where he wins by over 3. Then he goes into a $127,000 allowance race at the mile distance. Again, wins by over 3. The one thing I want to point out though, the horses that he beat in both of those races didn't really improve next time out. He does have one of the top speeds. He also has Brad Cox, and Brad Cox has a 31% win rate for 3-year-olds at the Fairgrounds, but he has yet to be tested in the competition. Will Disco Time step up in his next race here in the Lecomte and beat this level of competition? The number 12 horse is Jolly Samurai, trained by Danny Fish and ridden by Renee Diaz. 4 starts with 3 wins. All 4 starts have been at Remington Park. He wins first time out in a 5.5 furlong race, then goes into the Kip DeVille, a 6 furlong race at Remington Park, wins. Goes into the Clever Trevor, a 7 furlong stakes race at Remington Park, wins, but then goes into the Remington Springboard Mile, a Kentucky Derby points race, comes in 5th behind Coal Battle. Doesn't really seem to have the speed and the class of the other runners in this race. The number 13 horse in Lecomte Stakes is Built, who's also our morning line favorite and the horse to beat. Now, Built is trained by Wayne Catalano and will be ridden by Jareth Loveberry. He is by Hardspun. Now let's talk a little bit about Hardspun. Hardspun won this race in 2007, and Hardspun produced 2 fills who did really well in this race and the Risen Star and went on to be second in the Kentucky Derby. Built has had 3 starts with 2 wins and 1 show. The last time we saw him was here at the Fairgrounds in the Gunrunner going this distance. He took control of the race that day. Admiral Dennis, who was the morning line favorite, stumbled at the gate, and Built took control, set the pace, and won by over 6. Now, I was at the race that day, and it was very visually impressive. I mean, he looked like a true Kentucky Derby horse. Now, I really don't like post position 13 for him because he's going to have to go a little bit further and faster at the start. But if you look at his fractions in the Gunrunner, he was getting stronger at the end. And I really like that, and the pace may set up well for him. He gets Jareth Loveberry back, and I like that too. Now, Jareth Loveberry was not originally scheduled to be on build in the Gunrunner, but he is second in the standings at the Fairgrounds. This is the horse I really love in the race. And as a side note, on that day, I was very surprised at the end of the race when I asked to take a picture of the owners that they invited me into the winner's circle. It was such a joy and such a pleasure. I want to wish many blessings on these owners because they gave me something really amazing to remember. And I also want to share a picture of me and my mom at the Fairgrounds that day. My mom is the woman who brought me into racing and taught me everything I know. So everybody, this is my mom. And finally, the number 14 horse in the Lecomte Stakes is Seattle Road, trained by Tom Amos and ridden by Marcelino Petroza Jr. 4 starts, 1 win, 1 place. I like the fact all 4 starts are at this distance. It did take him 4 tries, however, to break his maiden, which he did 28 days ago here at the Fairgrounds in a $58,000 maiden race. Prior to that, he ran second to Hot Property, who just competed in the Smarty Jones, regressing in speed and finishing 5th. Now, he doesn't seem to have the class and speed as the other runners, but he is a closer, and if the pace gets hot, he can be picking up pieces at the end. Good luck to all of you at the Fairgrounds this weekend. It's going to be a wonderful weekend of racing. And stay tuned for all of my coverage of the road to the Kentucky Derby, including all of these Kentucky Derby points races. Most of all, sashay away with your money. If you like my channel, like, subscribe, comment. Find me at www.trifectaandextra.com. Cheers!